Welcome to Card Players The Circuit, hosted by your favorite set, Scott Huff, Gavin Smith, and Joe Sebok.
That's right, everyone. You are listening to Card Players The Circuit. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on cardplayer.com, and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff and Joe Sebok. Gavin Smith is out. He is in Los Angeles today, and we don't replace him with anyone. No. We don't break up the team chemistry. One of us is down, just one of us picks the others up.
Absolutely. We couldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
We would not.
Yeah.
Shrunk begged.
We said
no. He begged.
Yeah,
to be on the show,
I believe
co-host
it.
time.
I believe it, but no.
I was like, I guess you look somewhat like Gavin, but not enough like him.
Not enough.
We would need a backwards cap, or we would need some sort of situation. So, yeah. It's not going to work out.
So basically, it's the two of us, is what we're saying.
It's the two of us.
Yep.
And the long and the short of it, it's the two of us, and we're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Bellagio Cup 2 main event begins tomorrow.
Yes, it does.
What time does it begin tomorrow, noon?
I'm assuming noon. I haven't actually bought in yet.
Noon Pacific time. And right now, there's a prize pool of $293,910 for the Super Satellite. 54 players remain. 28 of them are going to get basically their buy-in. About 1 through 27 gets $10,500, and 28 gets $10,410. So we're in level 7. There's a couple people left that I recognize in the Super. Greg Murkow's right behind us, I think. Isn't that guy's name? I don't want to say it too loud. He might hear me.
I think it is.
So that main event begins tomorrow. It's a double stack tournament down here. You can still get down and check it out. And people might be listening to this anytime between, a little later on in the evening and tomorrow morning. So hurry down if you're listening tomorrow morning. And if you're listening tonight, get a good night's rest.
And
come down and buy in.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good event. It's going to be a really good event.
And it's going to be a good event. It's going to be a great show for everyone tonight. We have Hand of the Day, Poker Talk with the Baby Kangaroo.
All right.
Although that
boing, boing.
Cool intro is still going to be going.
Yep.
We have emails, phone calls. Jamie Gold, who is in second place right now at the World Series of Poker main event, and Dustin Neverwin Woolf on the show as well.
It's going to be a good show.
I'm very excited. Yes, it's going to be an excellent show. Why don't you tell us how the event went for you today, the $1,500 second chance sort of bracelet event that was going on down there at the Rio. How'd you do?
It was nothing really happened. I came in. I just never picked up hands. I never really got into any big pots. And I just kind of dwindled down. I think it lasted about 4 or 5 hours. So it was actually a bit of a feat, considering the fact that I didn't have any hands. That's about it. I wish I could tell you something more interesting, but it was a pretty boring tournament for me. I was extremely tired. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. So that's it. I just basically sat there and moved some chips around for a bit.
True enough.
Yeah. It was pretty boring.
Is the Bear still in?
The Bear is still in. He has about 6,000 chips right now, so he is slightly below average, I believe. But he's carrying the flag, and the father-son bet is still in effect.
What does your daddy do day? I love it. Danny comes with new segments.
I was looking at you, and I can't see your face, so I couldn't tell if you actually said that, but your face wasn't moving at all, so it was really a bizarre, freaky thing that just happened. As I was saying, the father-son bet is still in effect because Doyle and Todd played as well as Bear and I. So if Bear makes the final table, we get $200,000. Cha-ching!
If anyone's wondering by the tone of our voices that we sound a little bit slower than usual, Grind Week is back. It is Grind Week 2, just like in honor of the Bellagio Cup 2. It is Grind Week 2. We have gotten tired. There is only 4 more shows remaining in this World Series of Poker. Down here at the Bellagio, our circuit edition for the summer is almost come to an end.
It's fitting, though, that the last week's going to be Grind Week. I feel like we put in some hours. We're getting to the finish line. We're tired.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for some World Series of Poker news. And what we have for you right now is a Slamastica phone call. The chip leader of the main event of the World Series of Poker right now sitting on $5.2 million. Jamie Gold, how's it going?
Very well. How are you?
I'm probably not as good as you, would be my guess. Hello.
Oh, I'm right here.
All right, I said I'm probably not as good as you would be my guess, sitting on $5.2 million down there.
I'm feeling good.
I can imagine so. So why don't you talk about the road to this a little bit? We did a little bit of research on you. Looks like you have some poker experience, about $92,000 in lifetime tournament winnings. How'd you come up in the game, and how'd you get to where you are now?
Sure. I learned the game from my mom. Actually, my grandfather was a gin rummy champion who taught me a lot. We were very competitive in our household, and a couple of years ago, I got serious about Texas Hold'em, and I approached Johnny Chan and worked with him on an entertainment project in exchange for him teaching me a little bit about poker. And I've read every book I possibly could and started playing, and I won, 6 or 7 of those little tournaments at our local casino called the Hustler. And then I won a big one at the Bicycle Casino, and I realized that, I had a pretty good skill at reading people and a good handle on the game. And this is my first World Series, and things have been going incredibly well.
How's the table draw right now? I mean, obviously having 5.2 million must be a huge advantage down there. Are you just running the show or what?
I'm feeling great. I'll tell you from the beginning. I started out. I was on the first day. I was below 5,000 at the dinner break. Nothing was going my way. People were drawing out on me left and right. I thought I was playing perfect poker. Then I got a few lucky hands. Got it up to about 50,000. The turning point for me was when someone put me all in for 50,000 when I had a set. And it looked like the way the hand played out, he could easily have, there was a flush, a straight, and two other potential sets. He could have easily had queens or jacks the way he played the hand. But he called the clock on me, and that made me call him. I just knew that I had him, and that got me to 100, which got me to 300 after the second day. The third day yesterday was crucial. I built it up slowly. I lost all 5 races I was in. Every single time I was ahead, I never won one of them.
Wow.
Still built it up to about 800,000 or 900,000, and then I got some cards and just went on a tear and put it in about 4 hours. I went from 900,000 to about 2.5, 3 million, and that's what that now gotten me. I've been able to use my chips to bully people a little bit, and I put a huge bluff on somebody for about 800,000, and things have been going really, really well. My table's very tame. Nobody wants to play with me, so I'm picking up the blinds, maybe 4 out of 9 hands I'm picking up, and these guys just do not want to go out. They're very tame. If that changes, I'll adjust to them. But for now, I'm completely in control, and things feel really good. I don't know if I can win the thing, but I'm pretty sure I'll make the final unless something really odd happens.
Wow, it sounds like you've got it all figured out right now, Jamie. I mean, really, it sounds like you have a plan, of exactly what you're trying to do.
Based on my table, I had no idea until I met the people at my table. I watched how they were playing, and I just react to everyone else. I think that's my style, is just reacting to how everyone else plays. I have no plan ever.
Well, right now the field's pretty decimated of the quote-unquote big-name pros. And when you say, well, I don't know if I can win this thing with 5.2 million in chips, you have to feel like, a favorite at this point in the tournament with not too many big names to go through or really necessarily reputed skilled players.
Well, there's two things that go along with that statement. One, I don't want to sound cocky. I also don't want to jinx myself, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, in my mind, I have to visualize the potential of winning this thing. I'm just focused on getting to the next level right now. I'm not thinking about winning it because of all the things that come along with that. I'm not even know if I'm prepared for that. I'm not a professional poker player. I play poker every waking moment that I'm not working, but I do have another life.
Well, we ran some math just in case you were curious, which you're probably not, but we'll tell you anyways. At one point today, when you had just over, I think it was about 3.7 million, you had 880 individual chips in front of you, 22 stacks of 40. They weighed roughly 22.5 pounds of chips, which is about the weight of 3 gallons of milk.
Well, I'd rather have that than 3 gallons of milk.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and we look forward to talking to you in the future. Best of luck tonight and the rest of the way out.
Thank you so much. Anytime.
All right, Jamie Gold, everybody. I think I like Jamie Gold. Confident, but not cocky.
Well, the one thing I found very interesting is it's really getting down to, the nitty-gritty, and so you start to think about winning it. You start to really, it's getting really tense. But he sounded like he has such a solid and focused, viewpoint on what he's trying to do, which is pretty impressive at this point. You'd think things would start to get a little, I don't know if out of control is the term, but things get a little messier, when you actually get close to winning these things.
Absolutely.
And now it's time for Poker Talk with Big G and the Baby Kangaroo.
I miss Big G.
I miss Big G too.
Safe travels, Big G. Get back to us soon, baby.
Without him, I'm just a baby kangaroo. It's not the same.
Who's going to protect you in the wilderness?
Nobody. Because normally I have Big G, looking over my shoulder.
He really is like my bodyguard, you know that? I mean, I really feel that way sometimes, that people just they don't mess with you when Gavin's around because he just, he can bring the pain if he had to.
He'll just crack your skull.
Hockey player, too. I mean, I really think he could bring the pain. If I had to pick someone to fight for me on this circuit squad, it would not be Danny. He's a little wiry. It would not be Schronk because you know that he's just not tough, really.
Yeah, not happening.
I'm wiry, too. Danny was just mouthing, why wiry? But yeah, he's wiry. Anyways, Poker Talk with the Baby Kangaroo today. Table talk, table chatter. How do you use it, and what advantages can you gain from some table chatter and No Limit Hold'em?
Mm-hmm. Well, table chatter is really interesting because it can be used or not used in a variety of ways. Some people don't speak at all, and that's their game. A great example of that is somebody like the Bear, who he just plays. He doesn't really get overly involved. He's not trying to take over the poker game with anything other than his play. So for him, it doesn't come into play at all. Obviously, then you have the Daniel Negreanu's who try to make everyone laugh and basically try to become best friends with everyone at the table. And that can serve a purpose. I mean, in different ways. It makes people sometimes maybe take it easy on you. It just creates a very, very different dynamic. Then you have the people that are total dicks at the table who just basically are trying to get under everyone's skin and irritate them in situations, and in hopes that basically they're going to force you into a bad call because you want to bust him or you want to get after him or you're just not going to be thinking clearly. So there really is a whole host of things, that come into play with all the table chatter, and there's a variety of different things. And basically it's just talking and interacting with everyone, basically with the purpose of affecting the game in some way.
What do you think is the most effective table chatter? First of all, do you advocate needling the way you had mentioned?
I certainly don't needle. I actually do engage in a lot of table chatter, and I'm more in the Daniel Negreanu mold, where I'm just, everybody's friend, and I'm busting everybody up, and, I feel like that way I kind of become table captain. If I can't do it with my play, I can do it that way. But I'm not a needler. I'm not going to get after somebody and try to get under their skin. It's just not part of my game. I guess, it makes sense if you're playing against somebody that is going to fall apart. If you needle them, then I'm sure there's some advantage to it. I just prefer to, play my game and not necessarily get into that stuff.
Right. Well, I think good sportsmanship is something we should advocate on the circuit because needling, I know a lot of people really don't take kindly to it. It doesn't make for a good game. In most cases, it makes just brings the quality of the game down, I would say. And it doesn't necessarily help. I mean, unless you're lucky enough to maybe be at a table where someone needles and gets everyone else at your table on tilt and you're strong enough to handle it, then maybe it can serve a purpose there for you even to take advantage of someone else's table chatter at the table as well. Yeah,
and there's always a purpose to all these things. It's just, do you want to engage in it? Some people do, some people don't. But again, there's always a purpose.
All right, now it's time for Hand of the Day.
Nice hand, sir.
This was from our live updates log, and as everyone knows, we have exclusive coverage of the World Series of Poker at www.cardplayer.com, so check that out. We have live updates, chip counts, videos, anything you can shake a stick at. And we have the circuit from right here at Bellagio, too. Don't forget about us. This was called Ship It and Stop Asking Questions. Nobles loses the chip lead. Dimitri Nobles, by the way, now eliminated from the tournament.
He's gone.
Yes, he is. Right. The blinds are $1,500 and $3,000 with a $400 ante. Mr. Shock, I don't see his... Mitch Shock has $218,000 and Dimitri Nobles has $750,000. Here's how the hand went down. With $12,000 in the pot, the flop falls Ace of Clubs, 10 of Hearts, 7 of Hearts. Dimitri Nobles bets $10,000, and Mitch Shock calls. So it's Ace, 10, 7, 2 hearts. Nobles looks at Shock and asks, "Are you on a flush draw?" Shock responds by telling him no. The turn is the 9 of diamonds, and Nobles bets $30,000. Shock announces raise and pushes $80,000 more forward. Nobles calls and says, "We're rumbling now, baby." The river is the 5 of hearts. Nobles stands up and announces all in. Shock has $92,000 more in front of him and goes into the tank. As Shock goes into the tank, Nobles announces, apparently there's some backstory here, "He ate my Snickers. I told you I was going to get him back." Shock stands up and starts to stretch, and Nobles says, "Told you couldn't put me on a hand." After about 3 more minutes of verbal exchange, speaking of table chatter, between Shock and Nobles, Shock says, "Well, gang, I call." Both players act reluctant to flip over their cards until Shock finally shows the 9 of clubs, 9 of hearts. For a set, Nobles mucks his hand, and Shock jumps up into the air screaming, obviously winning the hand. So what do you think about the play of this hand?
I have a question on the flop. Did the gentleman with the set of 9s, was he the better or was he the caller?
Nobles bets $30,000. Shock announces... Oh, no, sorry, on the flop. It was Dimitri Nobles bets $10,000 and Mitch Shock just calls.
So the guy with the 2 9s just called.
That's correct.
I think that is a very dangerous call. Basically, he obviously wants to hit his 9, but the thing you have to keep in mind is that one of those 2 9s remaining is going to fill that hard draw probably. Or actually, did he have the 9 hearts in his hand? I guess you didn't say that.
Yes, I did. 9 of clubs, 9 of hearts.
Excuse me. So that's all irrelevant. Well, basically, he's in a situation. I mean, he decided to call. He there are a couple overcards to his 9s. I mean, it sounds like a gut feeling at that point. You make that decision. Obviously, he hits a 9 on the turn, and then it's Yahtzee. And he's stoked. He does, at the end of the hand, he gets surprised by, I keep forgetting their names, but the guy who obviously Dimitri Nobles, who tried to bluff with the flush, and that's basically what it is. So who knows what he had? I mean, maybe he had nothing. Maybe he had an ace. We honestly have no idea. And then from that point, it's just a field play. He's got a set of 9s. It's obviously a strong hand. He's only afraid of the flush, and, it just depends on how long they've been playing together and what read he put on him at that moment. But I mean, I think the only thing that is somewhat questionable is just the call on the flop.
Maybe that I'm surprised he maybe didn't bite on the bluff on the river right there when Dimitri asked him, "Are you on a flush draw?"
Right.
Sometimes people will do that, and they're actually, what do you have, 4 9s, and they're the ones holding. Maybe not at this level. Although there are some amateurs still left in the field.
No, it still happens. It was just, I mean, he had a really strong hand. He was just deciding if the guy had the flush, basically, and obviously, eventually decided that he did not, and he called.
All right, well, we'll be back with questions and emails for us right after this on The Circuit.
How does $10 in free poker cash sound? It's easy at vcpoker.com. Just log on, sign up, and get $10 free to start playing a wide range of games, including Hold'em. vcpoker.com makes it easy with the latest software, and your payments and payouts are always safe and secure at vcpoker.com. With 60 years of gaming excellence, vcpoker.com is a company you can trust. Sign up now for your free $10. Log on to vcpoker.com/free35 and get your money for nothing and your chips for free.
Welcome back to The Circuit, everyone. You know where we're broadcasting. This is Scott Huff and Joe Sebok from the Bellagio. I really do. I still want to mention it again. I miss Gavin Smith. Don't you miss Gavin Smith?
I miss Gavin Smith. Well, I haven't had anyone, scream at me or yell at me, so I really miss Gavin. I feel like there's a piece of me missing.
There's a piece of the show missing with Gavin in
absolutely.
Here, as we said, we will try to pick up the slack, and we're going to try to pick it up right now, starting with... Should we do emails or phone calls first? What do you want to do?
Emails.
Okay, fine.
Or phone calls.
Hey, Scott, Gavin, Tier, and Joe. Really enjoy your show. We all know that bad beats and great reads are important components of intense, no-limit Hold'em tournament play. Would you mind giving us an example of a monster laydown you've made in a tournament and the circumstances therein? You guys are slambastica, he says.
Slambastica.
Regards, Chris. P.S. Can you please send me back a link to your online store as soon as the circuit gear is available? Thank you. And yes, we will.
Right on.
And he says, yeah, that's it. Thank you. You're welcome.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Very nice. I'm trying to think. No huge laydowns come to mind. If anything, I think a weakness in my particular game is not laying down big hands. So I might be the wrong person to answer this. I think for me, one thing that I like that I don't remember all those hands after they're over. It's kind of Howard Leder actually wrote a column about this exact thing. It was basically, I think it was something like Zen and the Art of Poker, and it kind of talked about how he was happy that he didn't necessarily remember the bad beats and the things that had happened a couple hours before because he was already on to the next thing. So I tried to do that. So I am sorry. I can't think of any huge laydowns that I have made in the last couple of weeks at the World Series.
Well, you didn't say in the last couple of weeks. Have you ever made a huge laydown that you can recall?
I'm sure I have.
Tournament?
I'm sure that I have. I just don't remember it.
Well, one laydown you didn't make, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this on the show earlier in the intro, but I'd like you to just fill in real quick. You did have an unfortunate incident the other night here at the Bellagio Cup. Just let the people know you got really close. And was it an 11th place finish?
Yeah, 11th place finish.
How did that hand go down? And speak about why you cannot lay down hands like that, just because I want to get this out before we forget to do it this week.
Well, it's really interesting. Basically, I had about 230,000 in chips. And the chip leader was directly to my right. He was very drunk. He was not playing well. But it's really an interesting hand. He raised to 26,000. The blinds were 6 and 12. So it was a pretty small raise. I was on the button with 2 deuces. Now, the truth is I probably misplayed the hand slightly. I probably, given my stack size and, just the relation to the blinds and the way that all the math worked, it was really a move in or fold situation. What I did is I called, hoping to flop a deuce. The problem with doing that is it just doesn't, over the long run, if you ever don't flop your deuce, you're losing that hand. It's going to be impossible to try to play, especially the chip leader off. So I probably made a bad decision in just calling there. At any rate, I called. The big blind also called, and the flop came beautifully for me. It was ace, 7, deuce with 2 spades. Big blind checked. The chip leader moved in immediately. So he moved in before I had a chance to act, and then I obviously called behind him. And I flopped, my set of deuces. The big blind folded. He turned over jack 4 of spades, which was basically the only hand I didn't want to see was a spade draw. He rolled a spade on the turn. The board didn't pair, and I was a little bummed. I would have been chip leader pretty huge by about 300,000. But, that's the way it goes. And in all truth, I probably misplayed the hand by not, pushing in or folding before, so kind of an ugly lesson learned, but what can you do?
What can you do? But you did get close. You will be back
close.
again.
I hopefully will
Legends
be
of
back
Poker,
again.
baby. All right, next phone call.
Yeah, hi. This is Larry in Gilbert, Arizona. Wanted to know what you guys think is optimal strategy for playing the Maniacs, or, more complimentary, the shifty players, such as Gus Hansen or Gavin Smith. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Well, there are actually several different ways that you can play. Some people like to just wait and, sit around and wait for those big, huge hands and then try to smash them then. Some people prefer to call and then outplay them. What I like to do when I'm playing a very, very loose, maniacal type of player is I actually lower my raising standards somewhat. So, I'm going to re-raise his raises, with hands like Jack 10, because I know on average my hands are going to be better than his hands. So, I like to flip it around. I like to always be the aggressor. So I don't call and I don't, try to do that. I just try to take him off the hand immediately. So again, there's different ways to play it. That's just what I personally do. I actually re-raise more frequently and with weaker holdings.
I'm terrible at poker. Next
Hey,
call.
Scott, Joe, and Gavin. This is Greg from Vancouver. I was wondering if you guys could talk a little bit about calling pre-flop and what kind of hands you'd be able to call with, and whether position or anything like that has anything to influence your decision on whether or not to call. Thanks.
That's a bit general. It completely depends. Everyone plays different hands and calls with different hands. I think, I certainly have made it clear that I don't like calling. I like to have the lead when I'm playing No Limit Hold'em. So for me, I'm only going to call, with sneaky trap hands like, small pairs, things like that, trying to flop a set. Otherwise, I want to make sure that I have the lead, because as Gavin is so famous for saying, that most of the time no one hits anything. And in those pots, the lead is going to be who takes down the pot. So, but again, people do so many. Gavin calls all the time, so there's so many different styles. It really depends on what makes you comfortable, and what kind of style you want to play. But
I call with any two cards against any player. That was what Gavin would say right there.
Yeah. So
I call with any two against anyone.
Right, and Gavin's a bit looser and a bit more wild than others, but he gets by in it because he has such good decision making skills. Once the flop comes, and the later streets. So if you have those skills, then you can consider calling with more of these hands. It really just is going to play into how you want to play.
It is probably the most situational question ever asked.
Yeah, it's very and sometimes I'll call behind. Sometimes it very much makes a difference on who the player is that came in raising. If you're going to call at that point.
All right. Well, right up after this, we have Dustin Neverwin Woolf right here on the circuit.
I'm Howard Lederer. Even top poker pros like me have to sharpen their games, and the best place to do that is at Full Tilt Poker. It's where you can learn, chat, and play with some of the game's best pros like Phil Ivey, Chris Ferguson, Jennifer Harmon, and Phil Gordon. So come sharpen your game at FullTiltPoker.com.
This is Liz Lou, and you're listening to The Circuit.
Welcome back to The Circuit, everyone. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on CardPlayer.com, and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff and Joe Sebok here. Our guest today is a high-stakes online cash game player who also has over $600,000 in lifetime tournament earnings. His nickname is Total Bullshit. Dustin Neverwin Woolf. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. What's up, Joe Sebok, Scott Huff? Glad to be on. Maybe not so glad to be on. 42 hours I've been up, picked a good time. Not that sharp, not that witty. Hopefully as witty as you two.
I thought that was pretty good right there.
I thought that was a great intro for us.
Pretty amazing.
I couldn't get his name out. I said Neverwin.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, like I said, the nickname is Total Bullshit anyway. True. So what's the difference if I say it right?
I am definitely a little slap happy right now. I think we're all tired, and even though we're all tired, could be a bad show, or it might be the best show.
It may be the best show. Why don't we start off with the fact that your nickname is kind of garbage? Neverwin. Did you really think people were going to buy into that when you first decided on your online handle, or what? What was the choice behind Neverwin?
I was 18 years old. I was in college. I was playing online, and I thought Neverwin would be a good choice. One other guy online with his name was Last Chance. He busted like 9 accounts, and the 10th time he named himself Last Chance. And if he went bust this last time, he was going to quit poker.
Yeah.
And then he didn't quit. He went on and became a pretty good player. So I thought I'd do the same thing. Name myself Neverwin, and go from there. Actually, it was at first to create a lot of action, like, oh, this guy never wins, I should play him. But now it kind of just grown on me.
But only a moron would really give you action because you called yourself Neverwin.
Like the people who come with female handles?
Yeah, you know.
But most people on the internet are morons.
Yeah, it's probably true. It's probably true.
That's right.
I mean, let's be honest here.
That's what we do on the circuit. We tell it like it is. Did you bust out any accounts before you decided on Neverwin or no? Or was that just you heard this other guy's story, so you chose Neverwin? Yeah,
Neverwin was my first account. Stuck with it. A lot of people liked it, and actually that spurred the website Neverwin Poker.
Mm-hmm.
I called up my friend Mike Hahn, who was actually in web design at the time. He was designing some Golden Tee site, and I said he should start up neverwinpoker.com. He laughed at me. He said, well, that's not going to make any money. That's not going to do anything. I got this Golden Tee thing going. I just quit my job for. Little did you know, 1 year later, poker blew up, exploded, and now we're like full-blown Neverwin Poker.
Yeah.
And Golden Tee is where? Is it still popular?
Golden Tee is the video game.
I think they got
No, it's still popular.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
Yeah, it's really popular.
I think they got a $50,000 championship event once a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you play in that as well?
I've never played Golden Tee.
So why don't we back up a little bit? How did you mentioned college and playing that when you were 18. How did you get your start in poker? How did you decide that you liked poker and wanted to pursue it?
I guess the movie Rounders was the first thing, and then actually Mike Hahn and me were driving back from the casino after losing a bunch of money in blackjack, and he said, there's this game Hold'em, I could probably play you heads up. I go, I'll take a shot, I'll play. He's like, Dustin, you've never played Hold'em before, you have no chance to play me. And I, sure enough, went back to his place, beat him the first time, and then week after week we started playing, and we played a lot of heads up, and that's how I started playing heads up poker. And then Paradise came out, played on there, $3, $6 head up during college, and slowly built my roll up there, went broke. Went back to Chicago, actually. My dad gave me a job. I worked with him for a couple years, and then before I knew it, I was making more money online in a month than I was making the whole year, and that's that. I said I'm off to L.A.
Wow. Now, it's interesting that you started playing heads up. A lot of people probably now don't necessarily start with heads up, any kind of heads up play. If you have a friend that you can play with, maybe some people do.
A lot of people start no limit now.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So, what do you think that you took away from that's allowed you to become such an excellent player that just came from playing heads up against just one other friend?
I've seen millions and millions of flop scenarios, textures, how to play hands, what it means on a check raise on the turn, or river, or bluff. I mean, just seen so many scenarios so fast at such a fast rate, especially on the internet, that I was able to catch up to people that didn't have that experience. They were just playing at the normal brick and mortar casinos. Now, obviously, everyone has that exposure with online, but I was in the inception when Paradise first came out, like 9 or 10 years ago.
Do you think heads up is a good way to start, though? I mean, it obviously helped your game a bit. Do you think it's a good way for other people to start, or would you suggest other people starting in full rings when they're just learning how to play?
That's a good question. Being I'm so tired right now, I don't know if I could answer that one. That's just the route that I took. Everyone goes their own route. That's just the route that I happen to take.
I know that's the same way that S Double got his start playing poker. He played all the time heads up for baseball cards with his friend, and they would just play heads up all the time. And he's turned into a pretty decent player.
And
as
I
well.
think Antonio against Gabe Taylor did the same thing.
Really?
Except it was no limit.
Well, I guess when both people end up being good players, it probably works out better.
Well, I think it also just teaches you a different set of skills. It really hits on being aggressive. It really hits on getting after the person and trying to outplay them. So I think a lot of the guys that start heads up, those are the skills that they amass quicker, in that way, because they're doing it all the time.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that I didn't realize when I started playing a full table, I thought that you could just play every hand and pound, and I just got torched when I started playing full table. And a lot of people still say that I'm awful full table player, but I could still play full table if I want to play full table. I'm just not patient enough to do it.
Right. What I think is interesting too about that is I started off. I'm obviously still a horrible player, but I did start out playing 2-4 in a full ring. I think it teaches you to be really, really scared starting out playing in full rings as opposed to maybe starting out heads up, because you're always seeing people that have there's just so many.
How about full ring is boring? It's got to be one of the most boring things in the world. It's like watching paint dry.
Boring. Not much of an action junkie there. So what's your best game then? Is it shorthanded limit?
Heads up limit hold'em by far, and I'm trying to move over to heads up no limit hold'em.
Really? So why don't you talk a little bit about this year's World Series of Poker? Kind of walk us through how it went.
This year's World Series of Poker? I don't know if I want to talk about that. I went in 2 hours later. I lost all my chips. That's that. But at least my boy Micon is trying to make a run at it.
Is he still in over there?
Yeah, there's 72 players left. He's short stack, but I think he might be one of the best short stack players in the world. I mean, the kid always has a short stack, and he's always in it until the end. I took 32nd in the main last year. I hope he beats me.
Well, how are you?
I'm rooting for him.
Did you give him any words of advice? Obviously, having made it this deep.
All Micon has done over the last year is played 20, 30 multi-table tournaments day in and day out. Wow. He's done his homework. He doesn't need any advice from me. Although I do give him some aggressive advice where you could do some bluff moves here and there, but I mean he knows how to pick the spots right. He's definitely not anywhere aggressive, but that's how he gets by on the short stack.
Right. Did you tell him to avoid Aaron Cantor at all costs? I heard, and as we talked about before the show, that you were the first person to get cantered. Why don't you tell people about that?
How do they not show that? They show every other one but mine. I got 32nd. We both have about $1 million in chips. He's got $1.1 million. I got $1 million. He just has me covered. Comes in for $125,000. I re-raise half my stack, 450. Pot committed. Is that how it went? Oh, let me think about it. No. I raised, he raised me, and I moved all in and made him call. No. Whatever.
Clear the fog. Clear the fog.
Obviously, the 42 hours of lack of sleep is starting
to hinder me a little bit. I think it's making for great radio, personally.
I thought I might pass out at the 11th minute. I'm glad I made it this far. But no. Anyways, I mean, we got it all in pre-flop. Flop comes ace king 6. He's got 2 10s. I got ace king 10 on the turn. Story's ended. Madison and me are talking. We're at the same table, and they had it on camera. They didn't show it. I guess I wasn't famous enough.
And you were the one who started it all, apparently.
I was the one that started the canter because I could have.
Well, that's kind of shitty. You probably didn't want to start that. But.
Yeah.
I could have gave canter the exit, but instead he comes home with $2 million. I come home with $275,000. Bad beat. What could you say? However, during Atlantis in the Bahamas this year, we did actually have dinner, and he's a nice guy. I like him. He's a cool kid.
Yeah. Raymer kind of said the same thing about him. He's like, yeah, you bad beat me and ruined a chance for me to be a legend in the poker world. But he's a good guy.
You know what? You got to put bad beats on in those big tournaments. So. Whatever.
Part of the game.
That's poker.
Very true. Well, so describe a little bit though. Your buddy's in there. He's playing for $12 million. What place did you say you ended up going out?
32nd.
32nd. I mean, what is the emotion like as you're getting in a field that big, getting down that close? I mean, does it obviously it must be amped up. It must be different than anything you've ever experienced.
You're just in the zone. You go on your break, you come back, you think about strategy, think about what you're gonna do. You're just all poker. You're not thinking about anything else. No distractions. You're in the zone. What else can I say?
Yeah. So why don't you talk a little bit about? Do you play any live games? You obviously you said you play a ton on the internet. Do you play live other than tournaments?
I try to play most of the 10-game main event tournaments. I do play live, however, at the Commerce, but most people will say I'm a huge loser there.
Really?
Which is, for the most part, true. Especially in the lower limits for me when I play like 3 and 600, 4 and 800. Although when I play bigger, like 8 and 1600, 1 and 2000, I'm pretty much unbeatable. I haven't played it that much, maybe 5, 6, 7 times, but I haven't lost at that limit.
He's unbeatable.
I think when the money really means something, I play my A game.
Yeah. So why do you even go in there and screw around with the lower limits then?
Boredom. I'm blatant and honest.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned Mike Matasso, and considering your core game here is limit hold'em, and he says that especially heads up limit hold'em is for complete idiots who don't know how to play poker. How do you respond to that when people say things like that about limit hold'em?
He's been saying that for years. He actually he used to call me the biggest donkey ever in the year 2004, and he would come to my table on PokerStars and the 1-200 and play me every single day and call me an idiot. You shouldn't play limit poker and play me no limit, blah blah blah. Year later, 2005, he goes, I think you're one of the most improved players I've ever met. You can play limit hold'em pretty well.
Were you crushing him? Who was winning those?
He stopped playing limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done with it.
Mike Matasso is a phenomenal tournament player. I'll give him that. He needs to stay away from the cash games. He'll tell you he's great at the cash games too, but I mean, beat. I get this beat, listen to this hand, listen to that hand. I mean, it's funny to listen to, but, Same story.
I heard you guys directly mention in the same sentence. I forget if it was at Commerce. Someone mentioned something about how Mike Matusow should stop buying you new houses and new cars. Someone made this comment and you just kind of grinned, laughed it off, whatever. Has Mike Matusow ever actually personally funded a mortgage for you?
No, I don't remember winning that much money off my
Half a mortgage?
Me and Mike are buddies now. We don't mess around with each other.
So you said you haven't slept in a couple of days, although I don't think it's that obvious. Other than the not remembering the.
As long as nobody could see me right now.
So what have you been up to the last couple of days? Why have you been up for 42 straight hours? If you can comment on it.
I was online. I was on a heater, and actually I started off losing, and then I was on a heater. And when you get on a heater, you don't stop. I rolled this guy online heads up, and then I played 6 max for a while, and then played a little pot limit Omaha, and I was just on fire. So why go to sleep?
How high were you playing?
I was playing 3 and 600 head up, 3 and 600 6 max, and then I was playing 5100 pot limit Omaha, $10,000 buy-in.
If I'm even slightly deprived of sleep, I may be the worst poker player. I'm the second worst poker player in the world when I'm awake.
Right.
But I'm the worst poker player in the world when I'm tired. How do you play for 42 straight hours on the internet? How is that even possible?
It's not easy. And remember, I'm up for 42 hours because I stopped playing like 10 hours ago, and I flew out here, and I ran into you guys. You talked me into coming on the circuit. I only actually played tired for maybe 6 hours.
Right.
I could play strong for like 20 straight hours.
I think also, just talking about how you were citing, all the experience and all the hours that you put in, the tiredness doesn't affect you as much.
I know all the decisions. I know all the decisions instantly. I don't have to think about it all that much, especially in limit poker.
Is it really mechanical? I mean, is it that mechanical for you at this point?
Once I pin a player and how to play him, it's mechanical.
Did you ever read any poker books at all? Were you one of those guys who picked up Sklansky when you first started playing, or it was just the heads-up play?
I did a lot of heads-up play, and every time I went bust, I would watch all the top players online, devise strategy to beat them, watch exactly how they played each hand, made up my own strategy to beat them, came on, built up my bankroll, and then busted them.
No kidding. So you would actually just sit there and rail online?
When I was bust, I would sit and rail online for 8-10 hours a day.
Wow.
I didn't care.
Wow, that's dedication.
I definitely put in my homework.
Wow. Well, so that's very important.
But I'll tell you what, especially for all those kids listening at home, playing high-stakes poker isn't all it's made out to be. You're tired, the swings, the emotional distress. There's a lot of ups and downs with it, and I don't know if I want my kid doing it.
Before we get into the questions from the audience, whatever happened to you guys going skydiving this summer? That seemed to just fall by the wayside.
No. It has not fallen by the wayside.
Okay.
It's actually an interesting story. I'm glad that you brought it up.
That's why I host, baby.
Very nice. I don't know, probably 6 months ago, I went to Dustin. I let him know that I was thinking about going skydiving over the World Series. And he was like, no way, I'm not doing it. You're out of your mind. No chance. But then something happened. So why don't you tell all the listeners at home what happened, Dustin, to change your mind and bring you to the world of skydiving?
I might have changed my mind again.
Are you going back now? You're going back to no?
I'm actually a very nervous person, and I'm actually not very good at interviews and talking and all that, even though I'm winging it pretty good today. Probably because I'm slap happy and tired. If you got
we
me,
got you at the right time.
Yeah, if you got me at the wrong time, I'd probably be pretty boring.
Yeah.
It sounds like an exciting thing to do, and I know I'm not going to die doing it, but
he knows he's not going to die.
Not.
You're jumping out of an airplane. How do you know you're not going to die?
Well, I mean, you have just as good a chance of dying like doing anything else, whatever.
Right.
But I'm scared to go on the drop at like Magic Mountain or like an amusement park.
Well,
me too.
It's tough to do. It's definitely tough to do. But didn't you read a book or something, right, that changed your mind? Because initially you said no. Then didn't you read a book or something?
Yeah, something about overcoming fears and all that. I mean, do you have to really overcome all your fears?
No, you don't have to. If you
getting
don't want to
overcome
overcome,
is harrowing enough.
If you don't want to overcome the fear of jumping out of a plane,
you know what? The next time I'm up for another 50 hours, ask me if I'm going to jump off an airplane. I'll probably do it.
All right.
Here's what I say to airplanes, just real briefly. Alexandra was taking off from Vegas to go back to LA the other day, and she calls me and she goes, "We're going back to the terminal. There's something wrong with the plane." And all I said was this: "Yeah, of course there is. It's a plane." So that pretty much sums up
so you think
why I would never want to
planes
jump out.
Are unsafe?
Yeah, I don't even like the idea of being in one in the first place or jumping out of one. Not that you're inviting me.
Right.
Forget it. All right, time for questions.
That's not true. I did invite you.
You did.
Robert Blouin, you should have been funnier.
Oh, wait, that's right. He's been very critical of a couple of episodes of the circuit, and apparently he wanted to let us know before we went to the questions. Why? What was wrong? Wait,
I love Balan, and he's got like some of the funniest stories ever. And he did a good show, but I thought he could have done a lot better. He had people laughing, but he could have definitely had people laughing a lot more. Especially if he told a story about the time when he was walking with David Benjamin, and a guy comes up to him and hands the camera to David to take a picture of him and Gene.
Yeah.
And he just gets a kick out of that. And also, he gets a kick out of every time we're walking by together and someone asks him for his autograph when I'm with them. I don't know the deal about that, but he's a famous guy, you know.
He is.
I'm famous on the internet, and Mike Hahn's favorite quote is, "I'm relatively famous on the internet."
Yeah,
for you guys at neverwinpoker.com.
Well, here's an email from Poker Pete from NWP. He says, "What's up, Scott, Joe, Gavin, and the intern who started out on NWP? Neverwin was probably one of the most successful high-limit pros from the internet the past few years, but I haven't seen him online as much this year. I assume he's been playing live and was wondering how that transition has been going. What do you do different in your live games compared to online, and do you play as crazy live as online?"
Your assumptions are incorrect. I play a lot of the live tournaments, but I play a ton online. I just have a lot of new accounts that are not named Neverwin. Got to keep different aliases, otherwise people catch on to your play pretty quick.
And they don't want to give you action?
Well, now people want to give me action because I've been running bad this year, but yeah, for the most part, when I was logged on Neverwin and I'm on a heater, especially at the end of last year, I mean, nobody would sit with me.
All right, we got a couple phone calls, too. Danny.
Hey, guys. This is John from San Diego. The circuit is completely filthy. I have to buy a new iPod to fit all the shows in now.
Nice. It's the filthiest.
Question for Dustin. So you're a pretty high-stakes gambler online, and there's a well-known feud between you and Negreanu. Just want to know if there's something to that, and are you guys on friendly terms, or is there a feud there? Anyway, thanks. Like the show.
Well, you know what I loved actually right there, real quick. He goes, "There's a well-known feud." Oh, so by the way, is there a feud?
Yeah. Does it actually exist?
He's referring to when Negreanu had the heads-up matches for anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000 at the Win last year, and I challenged him, and we made a big fuss about it on Neverwin Poker. They made a big fuss about FCP. It went up on Pinnacle Sports, and there was odds to bet on it.
Wow.
We were just trying to hype it up a lot, and it just never went down. I guess I was down on the list. It wasn't a big priority, and then I think we were actually going to end up battling online, and then another online guy beat him, and he's like, "You know what? You probably might have me heads up, limit hold him."
Yeah.
But no, he's a nice guy. A little strange. Every time I talk to him, he's like, "What's up, kid? What's going on? You want to rap?
You want to rap?" I don't even know how to respond to that.
Neither did I. I was like, all right, maybe. Go ahead. Take the next one.
Hi, this is Todd W. from Las Vegas. Love the show. Really good stuff. Great coverage of the World Series. Question for Dustin.
Is it dandruff?
Dustin, you personify the online high-stakes gambler, probably more so than any other player, and I wonder what it felt like to kind of be the role model for a whole new generation of online degenerate gamblers.
As long as
again, love the show.
As long as I could keep that degenerate bottle of dandruff shampoo next to me.
That was a friend of yours?
I think that was dandruff, but I mean,
think it was?
It sure sounded like it. Todd W. Todd Witless.
Right.
Coincidence? I think not.
All right. Next call.
Hey guys, love the show. I got a question for Dustin, Woolf, Neverwin. Just wondering if you could make a comment on this whole little scandal with Brian Micon and PokerStars, the whole wearing of the gear. Thanks. Take care.
Scandal.
Yeah, I had a similar problem last year, and actually, if you go to neverwinpoker.com, there's a thread on it, and it's fully explained. I fully explained my part. Micon fully explained his. I don't think it should be repeated on this show.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time. Dustin, thanks a lot for coming by. We appreciate it.
I wanted to mention one other thing.
Go ahead.
Did you know that Neverwin Poker started the radio show and then you guys took it over?
I did know that. We talked about it at one point.
Wait,
I don't know that we took it over.
Started what radio show?
Our idea was the radio show, and then you guys started the radio show, just so you know.
Yeah, but then
I just wanted to clarify that for all the listeners.
But ours is what?
We were
like
the first to bring
at
it.
least a 5-1 favorite.
Yeah, but ours crushes. I mean, so.
Well, I mean, you guys are card player. We're still blowing up.
Well, there you go. We brought you on, give you a little pub. Maybe you could have us on the show one time.
All right, sounds
We'll
good.
up. All right, thanks, Dustin.
Right on. Thanks, Dustin.
Hi, this is Stephanie Larimore, Playboy Playmate, June 2006. If you want to win a date with me, click on the tournament button and enter the free roll tournament. If you win, you could wine and dine me the naked poker way.
Welcome back to the circuit, everyone. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on cardplayer.com, and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff and Joe Sebok here for you. If you like what we're doing here, you should definitely check out Card Player, the magazine. Go to www.cardplayersports.com, and you can get contest details on how you can win your way to any sporting event in the world, whether it's a Super Bowl, the Masters, or if you're like Sebok, the Polar Penguin Sumo Ice Fishing Championships. You can get there, and it's only $19.99 to subscribe to the magazine. So you should do that.
You should. It is the greatest sporting event on the planet.
You definitely need to check. Actually, will you go with the person if they choose that?
I already said I will happily accompany them. It will be a fantastic trip.
Well, this is like a first in World Series of Poker here so far that we've been doing this history of the circuit. We actually know the guest for tomorrow. Yukon Brad Booth, who is leaving for Italy on Tuesday. He's doing this right before he leaves. The most underrated poker player in the world, although now when his WPT drops, he won't be so underrated or unknown anymore.
He may be one of my favorite dudes in all of poker.
Did I tell you about the hand the other day where he took a picture of his pocket aces and then slid it across with his camera phone and showed someone?
Are you kidding?
While the other guy was pondering a call. Yeah, he folded, but it was really, really funny.
That's kind of awesome.
So some more of those antics tomorrow with Brad Booth. We'd like to thank our guest tonight, Jamie Gold. Best of luck to him down there in the main event, as well as Dustin neverwin Woolf for coming in here on Zero Sleep. We'd like to thank you all for listening. Tune in tomorrow to the circuit. Say bye, Joe.
I'm going to bed. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.